It's mid-March, right after St. Patty's Day, which means it's time to sow your sweet peas. They are some of my favorite flowers. I love the aroma, I love their ruffles, and while they seem to be a very delicate flower, they are hardy enough to use in bouquets. Let me show you how we sow sweet peas. There's a couple of different ways to go about it. First off, we need to soften the hard shell that surrounds the sweet pea. We do this by soaking them in water overnight, but you can also put them in a damp paper towel and put them in a baggie and let them hang on a windowsill or just kind of in a warm, sunny spot. We leave the bag open so that they can air out a bit. And one thing that's important is to be sure that you label if you want to keep your sweet pea varieties separate. You can see that the seeds that were soaked overnight are plumper. The seeds on the right are seeds that have not been soaked. So the ones that have been soaked have increased in size, they've absorbed some of that water, and they've also started to crack some of the shell so that you can see through to the inside of the seed, making for faster germination. While your seeds are soaking, you can prepare your seed trays. You can prepare your seed starting mix. Now there's various seed starting mixes you can use. This one is a mix of peat moss and perlite. I know peat moss can be quite controversial. I have written about that in one of my blog posts if you want more information. But there are other options like coconut coir that may be more sustainable. However, whichever you choose, just make sure that you have moistened your peat or your seed starting mix, and you fill your trays. And what I like to do is fill the trays to the top and then take another tray on top of it and just gently press to make sure that I've removed some of the big air pockets inside. You don't want to put large air pockets because that will affect how the roots grow through. And then top off with some more seed starting mix. So I've used this tray that has it's 4 inches deep. Sweet peas do not like to have their roots disturbed, so it's best if you're going to start them in trays to start them in deep trays like this one. You can also do some 3-inch ones, or you can invest in some of these trays, which are deep trays, and also open up, so when it comes time to planting them out, it's easier to remove rather than having to push through to the bottom to pull these out. And these come with a nice little kit with the moisture dome for the top as well. So once your tray is ready, I would go ahead and you've also soaked their seeds for at least 24 hours. I would go ahead and plant 2 seeds per cell. And I lay them all on the top first just to make sure that I haven't missed any. Once all the cells have been filled, I just go ahead and press my sweet peas down, making sure that they're completely covered. Now my seed starting mix was pre-moistened, so it makes this a little easier. If you need to top off with more seed starting mix, you can do that as well, just to make sure they're fully covered. Okay, don't think I missed it. I think I've got them all. Okay, so I'm going to just top off with some of the cells with a little bit more seed starting mix. Now I would then put this tray, this seed starting tray, into a flat tray so that when it comes time to water, I water from below. I fill the tray, the bottom tray, with water, and that will wick up into each of these cells, making sure that the water gets absorbed and goes straight to the roots. The other important thing to do is to make sure that you properly label your trays. I use painter's tape and a Sharpie for that. So sweet peas are what's considered a cool season flower, which means that you can start them indoors on seed trays like this, or you can plant them directly into the soil, into the garden bed. Those will take a little longer to germinate because the soil in the garden beds are not yet warm enough. These you can put on a sunny windowsill or on a heating pad and set to about 65 to 70 degrees, and that will be enough to get the germination process going. And once they have germinated, you would take them off the heat pad and just let them grow on their own. I would also cover this with a dome, again, just to maintain the moisture. But if you're planting directly out into your garden bed, you will see that germination would happen, but just a little bit later as the soil warms up. But you also have to be careful that birds or other outside critters don't get to those seeds before they've had a chance to germinate. So sometimes it's easier to start them inside, and once you have the seedlings, plant them out. So we've just sown sweet pea flowers, but the same process can be done for planting edible peas such as snow peas or sugar snap peas. You would soak these overnight as well, and then sow them in your potting mix similar to sweet pea flowers. When sowing your seeds directly out into the garden or transplanting your sweet pea seedlings, it's important to do so with some vertical support. Sweet pea plants are vines, and they need the vertical support to help them climb and produce some long stems. I will be planting along this arbor, or this arch that I created with a cattle panel that is fixed to some metal stakes with zip ties. It's a very simple construction. You could also just use stakes with some netting across or some string. And will be planting both on the inside and on the outside of this archway. You'll see that I've created a trough, and I've placed my seeds about 4 inches apart. 4 to 6 inches is a good spacing for sweet pea plants. And you could put 1 to 2 seeds per spot. And then just cover them up. Water them in. So we're back in the greenhouse, and it's been about 10 days since we've sown our sweet pea seeds, and they've started to germinate. As you can see, some of them have started to come up. It's just a minority of them. I had also sown additional 3-inch cells, and those are just starting to come up now. But what I'll do is that as soon as I get about 50% germination, I will take them out from where they are and lift them to a higher area here under the lights. These are some zinnia seeds that I had sown previously. And here are some cosmos, but I would move these sweet peas underneath the grow lights, keeping them an inch or two away. And I expect that probably within the next week or so, more than 50% of these will have germinated, and then I can move them up to the grow lights. So that's a brief tutorial on how we sow sweet peas. I hope those tips have been helpful. If you've got any questions, please note them in the comment section below and I'll be sure to get back to you. I'll also be linking the blog post that I referenced in the video regarding seed starting mixes, and in particular, the controversy about peat moss. There's a lot of good information in there, so be sure to find that link in the notes section below. I'll also be coming back to you more later on in the season with more about sweet peas. When they're ready to harvest, I want to show you how we do that and how we use them in our floral designs. Until then, thanks for watching.